So, if like even though like kind of most Muslims probably don't dedicate that much of their time towards kind of going to the mosque or that sort of thing. They just want to like live their lives, and it's just their family and what they've been brought up with. It looks as though kind of amongst the kind of Muslims who do take it quite seriously and like practice quite regularly and like kind of join in the kind of religious life and go to the mosque and stuff.
Content over everything.
That kind of hardline interpretation might not be kind of a small minority. It might be kind of like...
When you say hard, can you be specific on what it is that you're saying is hardline? For instance, are they hardline meaning they must pray, they must fast, they must do Hajj? What is the hardline part that you're talking about?
The hardline part, I guess, would be like seriously believing that the laws from the 7th century, like
Round one,
Rashidun,
fight.
That the laws from the 7th century Rashidun Caliphate would be the best laws for humankind.
Oh, you coming in? Okay.
And
okay.
So, like, I think that because a lot of Muslims kind of have next very little awareness of what Sharia law is, and then there's another group who kind of think, oh yeah, Sharia law is actually the best thing in the world. It really should be our legal system.
Okay. When you say this, like you said, they don't know what the legal system of Sharia law should look like.
Yeah.
Should look like. They don't even know what it really looks like when it's implemented. So it is kind of a fantasy in a lot of their head. It seems like a theory of logical arguments that make sense in their head for prevention of problems. And then there's those that actually do know. They've even lived in countries where they practice and implement. With me, as you know, I generally cut to the chase. I generally say the problem is the Sunni religion, right? You know me, I say Sunnism is a separate religion.
Yeah.
You keep mentioning the Rashidun Caliphate.
Yeah.
I say the same thing. So, at the end of the day, you're basically saying that Sunnism is the problem.
Okay, well, but like, what if some of those problems still carried on while Ali was the caliph?
No, because when you say while Ali was the caliph, he's had to now juggle with so much different problems.
Okay.
And not just that, when you read his history, are you reading the Sunni version of history, or are you reading the Islamic? When I say Islamic, the so-called Shia. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I've heard several things that Sunnis say, and it's wrong. It's they lie on Ali quite a lot.
Okay.
So
I'm not aware whether like the sources I've read would have a kind of sectarian slant or not.
There's always. You have to remember something. They always have to give a sectarian slant because Ali is such a key figure because he opposed Abu Bakr and Umar. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So therefore they have to sort of patch and make sure they mold Ali to be loving of Abu Bakr, loving of Umar, and all these lies they create. So, they have to make stuff up regarding Imam Ali.
But I mean, if like historical records show that, under the reigns of Abu Bakr and Umar, kind of offensive jihad, unprovoked offensive jihad was launched, and like invasions of countries like the Christian kingdom of Makuria in Nubia, and if they launched those kind of invasions, like what reason do we have to believe that kind of Ali wouldn't have also been in favor of like similar invasions that might have occurred during his reign?
Did you know that he stayed out of the wars of Abu Bakr when he started killing the Sahaba?
I was.
So the Sunnis say that they left Islam, the ones that refused to give Abu Bakr zakat.
Yeah.
Yes? Now, obviously, according to Bukhari, the Sahaba did not generally believe that Abu Bakr was an Islamic legitimate caliph. Yes?
Yeah.
So that's even in the Sunni books, right? So then why should they give him zakat? If the Sahaba, a lot of them, did not believe him to be Islamically legitimate, you shouldn't be giving him zakat in the first place. Do you see what I'm saying? So that would mean Abu Bakr killed Sahaba. So I'm saying they got into power, and by the time you got to Ali, there was all these problems. They've already conquered, they've caused so much problems. I would suggest you try and read the other side of the story.
You're right. I'm not really kind of equipped to talk about kind of the origins of Sunni and Shia.
What my point is generally approaching the Quran, because Imam Ali and the whole of the 12 Imams taught that when they say anything, ask them where it is in the Quran. So therefore, for me, it's very easy to deal with any opposition in general. In general, meaning if it's a topic that I'm promoting or using to show that Sunnism is not Islam at all, then it's something I can go into depth on. If it's something, let's say you bring, what's that thing you always use? Inheritance.
Yes.
I've never been in a situation where I've had to debate and discuss this.
Yeah.
So it's not something I feel I need to go into. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
so
see
it hasn't
what you're
taken my time to study.
Okay.
I'm saying that if I debate that topic with you, let's say I put in hours and I come back, you probably say, oh, okay, that's a point, and you move to another one. And there's no real consequence. However, I'm just saying, if I prove, for instance, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman are not Islamically legitimate caliphs, that's the whole of the Sunni religion gone. If I prove that the Quran is saying Aisha is an enemy of the Prophet and Allah and the righteous believers and Gabriel and the angels, then again, that's Sunniism gone. Do you see what I'm saying? So these are big things that I like to debate. And I'm saying what I've seen as an Afro-Caribbean is a lot of my Afro-Caribbean black brothers go from one slave master to white Christian to another under Sunniism. They have no, there's no legitimacy in Sunniism for them to use their own intellect in studying the Quran. So then they're slaves again. And that's why you find them going and, how the hell does an Afro-Caribbean grow up in England, convert to this religion and start fighting and killing and raping in other countries?
Okay.
Do you understand? That's the Sunni ideology.
Okay, I think there's still some things in the Quran that would make you feel uncomfortable. Like, in Surah 23 verses 1 to 7, it says something like, those people have succeeded, they who kind of pray quietly and they who do this. And then it goes on to say, and they who hide their private parts, except from their wives or those whom their right hand possess.
Right.
So, obviously that says like kind of, right hands possessed refers to slaves, but it also says that you're allowed to kind of like, show your private parts, like show your penis to the slaves you own. Like imagine if you like enslave someone, and then now you're free to just like show them your penis whenever you want.
It's not a showing. What it's saying is guard, meaning.
Like your wife, you can show her your
meaning that you do not have sexual intercourse with anyone who's not legitimate. Now, I would say to you that these captives, the circumstance, you have to get into the psychology of the people. So you don't just study the Muslims, you study the opponents as well, and the time period. Yeah. We don't need to go all the way back then. We can just study 100 years ago in Britain or any other place and see what was acceptable to both sides. What was the norm? And I'm saying to you that Islam is always trying to make sure that you evolve further and better.
Okay. So that's a good distinction, I guess, between like kind of when you first asked me like what makes them hardline or what makes them traditional, like a lot of them would kind of reject this kind of always try and like evolve your understanding of the times, and they think no, like this is
not understanding,
the best.
It's about justice. So for instance, you didn't have massive prisons back then.
Yeah.
You couldn't provide massive courses for your prisoners and say, right, you do this course, and they're like, wow, you know what? I shouldn't see this way, and so on and so forth. Do you see my point? So if you're in the desert, bruv, you have to deal with desert life. So, you have a choice. Let's say you're talking about female captives. What are the options for that person that's a captive that's a female?
Join another...
Tell me what, other than...
If they weren't a captive, they could join another kind of settlement.
Could they pick up a bow and arrow and start killing the Muslims?
No, they wouldn't be able to fight back, really.
Why? No, I'm saying, if you came to a place, I'm saying, if the order of the day was to ransack a place and take your women and so on, and to rape them and treat them, inferior because they're the enemies, then Islam comes and says, no, you can't treat them inferior. These are the rights because they're human beings, etc. And I'm suggesting to you, when it says what your right hands possess, is talking about marriage. Now, people are going to tell me, what woman, after you've, let's say, captured her and so on, is going to be okay with this? I'm saying go and study history and study the psychology of people. If you, in fact, study the psychology of people now in certain tribal areas, okay? And certain, let's say, parts of Europe now, what they accept to be normal and good compared to what we in modern Britain think is normal and good. Just now. So I'm saying to you, those types of women, would they be grateful compared to what their own people... I'm saying like, I don't know how to phrase it without making it look bad, but I'm saying because as modern people, we can never in our right mind say, hold on, you captured this woman, and all of a sudden she's going to be happy with you trying to marry her. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, that might sound ludicrous to us, but let's deal with history and psychology, and if they said, you know what, they would prefer that because he's got a houser, clother, feeder. He's not raping her, he's not killing her, etc. So he's saying, listen, this is the option. I would like you to be my maidservant because you were an enemy. Do you get what I'm saying? You were going to kill me and so on. And imagine that they capture somebody that might still want to kill them.
Possibly.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because, it's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So what would you suggest that they do? Because you have an issue with your right hand possess.
Yeah.
Yes? What do you advise them to do with these females?
So like
in the desert of Arabia.
Yeah, so for example, I mean you might reject this because it's like from Bukhari, but like there's a hadith of how in the aftermath of one battle, Khalid ibn Walid saw a group of women and children running away from in the aftermath of the battle, like after their side had been defeated, and they were about to reach a mountain, and Walid thought, I was worried that they'd get to the mountain because then it would be hard for me to kind of pursue them. So he fired an arrow, and the arrow went like further than them and like landed in front of them. And then they stopped because they saw that like, this is a threat, I could shoot you if I wanted to. So then they allowed themselves to be taken captive.
Right.
And so I think that indicates that even though there may be some who kind of like are resigned to their fate, like others would have thought, our chances are better, and we would prefer not to be enslaved and captured by these people who had just, destroyed our tribe, and we'd prefer to like try and make it to another Jewish settlement or something like that. And if it's a group of women and children, I mean, I think one thing we need to remember as well is that the Quran refers to, it says in like Surah 8, verse 66 maybe, something like and enjoy the spoils of war, enjoy the war booty, lawful and good. And this war booty would refer to, in addition to riches and money, it would also refer to the women and children taken captive and the other people taken captive. So that's like a difference to look after these prisoners of war like you might have in the Geneva Convention. If you're saying enjoy them, lawful and good, these are your property now, that's like a less noble intention than kind of how the Geneva Convention says, these prisoners of war are your.
I would suggest you don't look at that verse in isolation, and you take the Quran as a whole, and even the examples where, because they're human beings, therefore you have to measure and judge them. So, how would you deal with the fact that the Quran says, we made you into different tribes and nations, that you may recognize one another. Verily, most noble of you is the one with the most piety, taqwa, righteousness, etc. So if that is the standard measure for the Quran, overall, that's mankind now, it's not Muslims versus anyone else, then it's telling the Muslim that, God, my phone keeps going, it's telling the Muslim that this is the standard measure. There are people that could be from the enemy tribe who are actually righteous people. So when you're saying this, I suggest you take it as a whole, that when it's saying enjoy your spoils and so on, you're still dealing with that. For instance, when you get wealth, goods, for instance, the wealth, I suggest it's talking more about this.
Okay.
When it's talking about human beings, is it that much enjoyment when it's actually a burden? For instance, somebody has just been trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Islam says you're not allowed to beat them up. You've captured them. He might have just chopped your bloody hand off. Islam. Imagine that enemy chopped off the arm of a brother. You capture him. Islam says you can't do nothing for him. You can't slap him. You can't do this. You can't do that. I mean, is that enjoying the spoils of war? You have to feed him. You have to clothe him. Do you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, the Quran is telling you to think all the time, to use your intellect.
Yeah.
So it has the verses, very compact, but you have to use your intellect when you're dealing with the Quran. And I suggest you try and use all the verses. I know it's difficult, obviously, but especially relating to a topic, gather them all together, and then go into that. Because what would your response be? How enjoyable is that to have somebody who was just trying to chop you up, and you're not even allowed to punch him? You have to feed him and clothe him. And you even have to make deals and say, you know what, if you can teach Muslims to read, if you can do this, you have to give him dawah. Someone that just tried to kill you. And he might be saying to you, yeah, this is interesting. But in the back of his head, he's thinking, you know what, as soon as you free me, I'm going to kill you. So I'm saying, how enjoyable is this thing that you're talking about? Do you see my point? I'm saying the intellect. That's why I call myself Isa, the great black intellectual Muslim. You're not talking to a Sunni. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You see?
Yeah. Like, I feel like kind of when you...
You were talking about women, weren't you? When you said enjoyment, you weren't thinking of the men captives, were you? Be honest.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the women.
Yeah. They'll get more enjoyment.
No. My point was, if we done what you did, which was embrace all, I suggested to you that this is more talking about the wealth, the spoils of war. I agree with you. You can expand it to everything else. But then I gave you the example, which suggests that that's not very enjoyable. Even the women, because she can play. Oh yeah, I love you. Da, 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 da. I'm poisoning you. I'm just saying how, think about it. We're talking about human beings. She might be someone that's vicious and say, you know what? She doesn't care about dying, but she's going to stay alive until she poisons it. Get revenge.
Yeah,
do you see? I'm saying it's not as enjoyable as you think. They're still human beings.
Yeah, they're still human beings. But I mean, when you live in a kind of slave society, kind of...
you keep saying slaves. I mean, the problem, you see, it's very difficult. This is the problem I find with the conversations. Is that we need to introduce so many different things first of the mindset of the desert of the 7th century. And then we talk about these things.
Okay, yeah, I'm much less interested in like trying to condemn kind of that behavior within its time and within its historical circumstances. I'm more concerned with the people who, like I mentioned before, who think this is the best thing. Like let's just follow their exact example, that sort of thinking.
Oh no,
which you're not bringing
totally
because you're kind of like looking
Have you read
holistically,
anything on
and
Imam
I think you're also kind of like. I think you also have like a good moral compass and use that moral compass when you try and read and interpret the Quran to like reach a good conclusion. Whereas some people, they might take their teaching from kind of quite loony people, or they might be kind of misguided and that sort of thing, and they wouldn't have as many kind of safeguards. They can end up condoning almost anything if you show them, look, the Sahaba did it, and they'll say, oh, okay, then it.
Look at the problem that they have though. Even some of the Sahaba that they're talking about innovated things that they thought were better and more progressive.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's things they innovated. So I'm thinking, hold on, if the same guys you're talking about, they said, well, we've come to this stage now, we've got more wealth, we're doing this and we're changing, then hello?
Yeah.
Do you get my point?
It doesn't, their belief system doesn't make sense. Like,
as you know, I say Sunnism is the ideology of conquest. It's there to produce zombies to conquer. Simple as that. That's what you see. And after they've conquered, then what? This is the problem you're seeing. They're all over the place because they're not there to develop civilization, and they're not there to produce justice. Do you get me?
From a Shia point of view, have you ever looked into
a Muslim? Because you've got Sunni and Muslim.
Okay.
You see, but, I'm trying to make that a habit.
But sometimes you put forth the kind of 12-ish Shiaism, and you say this is pretty good 12-ish Shiaism.
No. What I'm saying is that's Islam.
Okay. So from the perspective of Islam,
yes.
Is Quran Surah 9 verse 29 a general command or a specific command?
What does it say?
It says something like kind of it ends with fight those who kind of who have received the scripture and forbidden what Allah has allowed, and until they
feel themselves subdued and stuff like that.
Yeah, until they pay the jizya willingly, being brought low. It's that verse. So let me bring it out fully, so that kind of we're on the same footing.
Is this actually recorded? I hope so.
Quran.
I can't believe it. Most of the conversation I intended to have today, I haven't had.
Who did you intend to talk to?
What's his name? Bob.
Oh, okay. I wanted to get here in time when you were still talking with Isa about kind of like he was putting forth a kind of like Mad Cali kind of Saudi Arabia outlook, and I thought that would be an interesting thing. But you had already broken up by the time I got here, unfortunately. But yeah, let's see.
Was that live? Was it?
So fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth from those who are given the scripture. Fight until they give the jizya willingly while they are humbled. So
What's the verse before it say?
the verse before it, let's see here.
I will take up my Quran, but I'm thirsty and I feel weak, man. So
Yeah,
as long as you can get it.
I've caught you at the end of the day. Let's see here. The verse before it says, O you who have believed, indeed the polytheists are unclean, so let them not approach al-Masjid al-Haram after this, their final year. And if you fear privation, Allah will enrich you from His bounty if He wills. Indeed, Allah is knowing and wise.
Okay. So, one sec, please. Basically, this is very. I would go into this very in depth. But what do you think of the first part which says fight?
In 929, yeah. Well, like it
What I'm
seems,
saying is,
seems
I
to
could
be-
give a long conversation about it, but I'm starving. So, what it is, as you know, I believe personally, I have superior arguments over all the Sunnis, right? So therefore, you brought up something that I really want to go into at some point.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the first point which says fight?
Well, it's not kind of what I think it says. I'm kind of asking because I know what the kind of traditional Orthodox, like Salafi understanding of this verse is. And I'm just wondering what the the true Islam, the Shia Islam understanding of that verse is.
I'm saying the words in the Quran are what they say.
Okay.
So when it says fight, what does that mean?
War.
Is it attack?
Yeah. Well, like.
Is that
I
how
mean,
you see that?
according that's what the Salafi understanding is. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the thing is, taken in context with the other verses, this is what I'm saying. When you put these verses out without context,
But is that you, or is that do you know what the Orthodox Shia position on this verse is,
this-
or are you
what
kind
I'm-
of telling you
what I'm
what
saying?
you
I don't
feel?
even know Orthodox nothing
Okay.
because the basic position of the 12 Shias, the true Muslims, is that the Imams taught from the Quran. So when you're reading the Quran, then I'm supposed to go to the Quran. Yes?
Yeah.
So the thing was, in that time you didn't have print and press, you didn't have internet. So obviously we have access to that now. So therefore I can go and research the dictionaries and so on and so forth, and I can look at the tafsirs of Sunni, of Shia, of this and that. And I'm saying to you, it's common knowledge, if you like, for any researcher, that the Prophet was continuously attacked. He was continuously seen as a threat because they saw his movement as something which not only sounded something that made more sense, but would also mess with people's economy. So a lot of the people that abused the ignorant people from among the people of the book and the polytheists and so on, they would see, you know what, they didn't care about the ideology. They cared about the fact that he was going to bring justice economically. That's a major, major thing. When it says fight, you're talking about people that are attacking you.
Okay.
Because I'm saying it seems you don't want to approach it from the actual historical angle of somebody teaching something, people not liking what he's teaching because the oppressors want to keep the oppressed oppressed, and then they want to fight and extinguish what he's teaching. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
So therefore he's being told you have to defend yourself. Do you understand?
I understand.
Because I'm saying it's a very concise verse, and I'm saying the context, the theme throughout. You know, there's verses which say, but if they stop fighting, then you stop too.
Yes. Yeah. It
Do
does
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
it does say that.
you know, clearly when you have this verse with that one, you don't, you know, the whole point is to get peace. But if you've got people that are continuously plotting against you, you had a treaty and they broke it and killed the Muslims. I mean, you lot talk about this as though, I'm asking, what the hell would you lot do? Whatever position you're coming from. If you said, okay, a peace treaty, and then they bloody sent missiles and bombed you to pieces, how would you see the enemy?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Them, yes.
Exactly. So you don't say kill them where you find them. That doesn't mean men, women, children, and everybody. It's the people who are just bloody attacking you.
Yeah.
Do you get my point?
I do
So
get
when
your
you
point.
say this thing, you know, always look at it in context. I love talking with, you know, people who are open-minded and at least can have a proper conversation. But I'm thinking when you ask the question, try and have an angle what you're saying it means.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So are you saying, it's basically saying, right, wherever you see the Jews and Christians and the polytheists, fight them until, etc.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
I'm aware that I'm not qualified to like make an independent scholarly judgment. I can't like make ijtihads, So
no, but I accept that you're not. So therefore, if you were to say your opinion,
the best thing I can do is like look at what does this group of people who have studied for a long time, what do they think it means? And so I've looked up what the early Sunni scholars say that verse means, and so I was just wondering. I wonder what like the early Shia scholars think. What you're saying. Yeah. So
I mean, I'll be honest. I've read so much where I used to like not a donkey carrying books because it was useful. But then I had to kind of narrow down my information that I retain for a certain purpose. Because some Shias think, I don't know about Shiism. They think I don't know the history and so on. I read it, and I used to talk about it, but I'm saying, well, in the debate, how useful is this information?
Yeah.
And what is the crux of what I want to achieve in a debate? And that's what I focus on.
Yeah.
So a lot of things I've forgotten, but I can be refreshed about it.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
So when you're telling me, like, with the Shia interpretation or Shia tafsir, one of the things people need to understand that sometimes the Shias in the past and the Shias of the present would actually succumb to oppression from Sunnis. So if they weren't quite sure, they'd be like, you know what, it's just for the sake of... And they're doing that today.
Yeah. Okay,
some of them are just like, for the sake of peace, let's just agree, let's do it.
Like about this idea that, like I appreciate that a lot of the warlike verses in the Quran are made in a specific historical context where they're already being attacked, and so they have a specific self-defense context.
But your issue is people today using them to say we can attack and kill.
That is an issue, but there's also another kind of, based on like what I've looked into like Muhammad's life, and like it seems as though even though kind of his early kind of military campaigns you could clearly say were self-defensive, it seems as though some of his later military campaigns weren't in self-defense. Like I believe there was an attack that he ordered Ali to do against a group of pagans to destroy their idols, and the purpose was to destroy their idols, and I can't find any reference to that kind of pagan group attacking him before. So I'll try and find it. I can't remember their exact name, but it was one of his. It was just in one of the last two kind of in the last 2 years, like he started having a lot more power and doing a lot of military expeditions.
What it is, seriously, I'm proper hungry, man.
Okay, yeah.
I've got something to drink in my bag.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do, because I would like to talk to you a lot more.
Sure.
You seem to be interested. You seem to be somebody that we can have a civilized discussion with, and we can go in depth. And the fact that you seem to be able to distinguish, or you're looking to understand what the true Islam perspective is, as opposed to the Sunni religion. That's something which I would like to explore. I would say in regards to, what did you say? What was the last point you made there?
The last point I made was
I'm not
sure. I think Muhammad made.
Were they self-defensive?
Yeah. I think some of his last.
Oh, he sent Imam Ali. Was that Yemen? Is that the Yemen thing?
I'm not sure if it was Yemen. They had the Banu Tai. It was the Banu Tai tribe, and it's called the expedition against the Banu Tai. And from the kind of
you're basically
Sirah
saying nothing
literature, the
suggests
biography
that they were against. So he didn't kill the people, but he destroyed. I just want to get. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
I think it was like a raid, and so there would be enemy casualties as well. But like the objective was to destroy their idols.
I find that very interesting. I'll tell you what. This is because what happens here in this discussion, it becomes a philosophical, psychological, social debate on idolatry. Do you see what I'm saying? When you're discussing with me, I would now go to, let's look at what idolatry actually is, what it produces in the society. Do you understand? Okay. And how the people at the top use that to abuse the minds of the masses. And I can give you examples from Hinduism and so on. Do you see the issue with how I'm starving and how I would like to pursue that conversation?
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
sure.
I might say to you, with the information you've given me, he's 100% justified to do so because of the people that are being abused and taken advantage of. So in other words, you mentioned idols and then you said people afterwards. So I'm saying, if you're saying he went and smashed up idols, I can only surmise with the collective of information that would still be along the same lines of these that are oppressors.
Yeah, that's a little bit dodgy though.
No.
We need to liberate you from your oppression and make you kind of bring a better way of life to you. That's almost like kind of what other people have said that before. And
No. Stop. I said along this. I'm saying if you have a person who has a track record, yes, throughout his history of self-defense, and you also have his ideology.
Sorry, did that get pulled out?
I'm not sure.
No, I think it's good.
Okay, that's listen. I appreciate that. Where was it? Thanks anyway. Go on.
So what I said
Because
was...
we definitely need the mic, so I appreciate that. Go on. That wasn't...
He was in a deep one.
Yeah.
I should have waited.
That's right. No, because if we're talking and it ain't recorded, you get me. What did you say? All right, so you're saying like, from the view, you're basically saying that from the perspective of Prophet Muhammad, he's saying, well, you're being oppressed,
Yeah.
and I would like to remove you from your oppression by destroying your idols and bring to you the liberative Islamic ideology.
Whether you
And
want
you're
it
saying,
or not, kind of.
Right,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying to you, when you say whether you want it or not, do you agree that there are black people today that say they are glad that white people enslaved them and brought them over from Africa? Did you know that?
Yeah, there probably are people who say that.
No, I'm not pointing at you. I'm just...
Yeah, there probably are people who said that.
Right, and what do you think about that? I'm saying, in other words, you can be brainwashed into such a thing where you don't know hardly anything, and surely there's got to be a standard. For instance, those girls groomed. Have you heard, what's it called, Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah.
Where some of them will say, no, within their context, he loves them, and but they're being abused.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, it's like you now going into the house and saying, but, you slapping the man up, and the girl's trying to fight you and saying, hey, sorry, you're only young, you're 13 or whatever, you have no idea what you're going through. Only when you bring their mindset into the real world and say, look, this is what should be happening. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So that's why I say, if we go into idolatry, and I would like someone to challenge, I want someone to challenge me on the basis of what they say about idolatry or whatever, polytheism, and bring that position. Because there's so many subjects in this one little thing that you've brought here. Psychology, sociology, history, anthropology, there's so many things you've brought.
Yeah.
Has Shia got their own Kaaba and their own stone? No. Do you want to do Hajj? Do you want to kiss the stone? That's idolatry, ain't it?
No.
Do you pray to Mecca?
I pray towards Mecca,
Yeah.
How's that idolatry?
Do you want to do the stone though?
No. It's cool. All right. Do you know what praying is?
No, don't change the subject.
No, you said pray. No, you said pray.
I'm asking you a simple question.
No, but right, let me explain. I'll heard your question.
As a Shia, because you've got... Uncle Ty said Shia have got their own Kaaba and their own stone.
No. They have, I think it's in Iraq. Iraq or Iran.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? They have an area. Is it true or is it false that they're actually doing a practice Hajj?
I don't know.
No, I'm saying before he brings in what he's just brought, what you call salah, praying 5 times a day.
You mentioned idolatry. That's what I was talking. Idolatry.
I know, and I'm
praying
answering what
to
you
a
said.
stone, walking around a square.
Yeah, how is that? We're not praying to. We asked the stone for anything.
Wait, Kaaba, Allah. Yeah, Allah and Kaaba.
What Kabbalah?
Kabbalistic. Kabbalah.
Anyway, as I was saying, are we praying to the
worship?
Are we praying to the stone?
It's Saturn worship.
Okay, is that what you got to say? Okay. So Allah is Saturn. Okay. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
You said that.
Well, what are you saying then?
I
Because you said we pray to a stone.
Kissing a stone and
Okay.
walking around the cube.
Okay, so if that's a ritual, what's your point? What's that got to do with worshipping the black
Saturn
stone?
worshipping.
So we're worshipping the planet Saturn.
Satan.
So say
Lucifer.
okay.
I mean, it does seem like a slightly kind of arbitrary.
That's a very
ritual
amateur
to do.
attempt at
Why
linguistics.
do the Jews have that cube on their head?
I don't know about the cube on their head.
And what were you saying before?
That you walk around
Idolatry,
7 times.
polytheists,
Yeah,
and so on.
this-
What I would like to get into is, because it's kind of like we need to do it in what Islam is actually saying, Because obviously I'm saying Islam is saying something very different than what you've heard. And then I want you to compare what you're saying. So for instance, when you say Prophet Muhammad is saying this is better, I'm saying this is what he's offering, and you can give me the best polytheistic, whatever you can offer, and we compare the two and see which one's more beneficial. What's in the Quran, i.e. the supreme wisdom of the Quran, the Islam of the Quran, or whatever you have to offer. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, it's very, and if you bring me something, I mean, if you can, try and get the quotation so we can go through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in that case, kind of, we might, if we follow this kind of reasoning, that's like people who don't live according to Islam, but who live according to some pagan belief system, they're akin to a person who's been groomed, like a victim of
Saudi
Stockholm.
Arabia. One of the first things you have to remember is the purification of Saudi Arabia, right?
Okay.
If you're saying this is the Holy Land, it's different when it comes to other areas.
Okay.
I've seen nothing that says you're supposed to go into another nation, unless it's an empire who's trying to spread and conquer you, which was apparently what was going on at the time.
So you believe that Muhammad ordered Saudi Arabia, or the Arabian Peninsula, to be all the Jews and Christians and pagans be driven out of it?
No. What?
Do you believe that he ordered that in his
As far as I remember, the polytheists send the polytheists. That's it, the pagans.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even if it's the pagans, though, if that's where they've lived, for generations and generations, it's their homeland, and then they're being forced out of their homeland because they're the wrong religion.
Listen to what you're saying.
Isn't that ethnic cleansing?
Listen to what I've just said something to you, and you've come back to me with this viewpoint as though I never said it. I've said to you, from my perspective, the polytheist ideology is an ideology seeking to abuse and take advantage of people. The Islam of the Quran is seeking to educate and evolve people. Allah says in the Quran, verily, the worst creature in the sight of Allah is the deaf, dumb and blind who does not use their intellect.
Yeah.
Would you not agree that the author of this book, because you don't believe it's from Allah, right?
Yeah.
Is saying that the intellect is to be highly esteemed.
Yes.
The worst creature is low intellect.
Yes.
So therefore it's encouraging you to use your intellect as a human being, yes?
Yeah.
So would you not agree, anyone who's expecting you to believe that a piece of clay or wood or stone is answering your prayers, would you not agree they're trying to keep you dumb?
Well, I think many of the reasons why pagan religions are, ridiculous and not true also apply to Islam.
No. I've asked you a specific question.
Yeah. Yes. If you're telling someone, I mean, they think that it's true, so they're trying to help their people follow the true faith.
No.
The end result. Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
The Quran gives this statement of Allah's yardstick of who's here and who's at the bottom.
Yeah.
The worst creature in the sight of Allah. Deaf, dumb and blind who do not use their intellect.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Deaf, meaning they don't listen to wisdom or they don't hear the truth.
Yeah.
Dumb, meaning they talk to the garbage like these other people. And blind, meaning they're not looking for the truth. There's something,
Isn't that also referring to, non-Muslims or disbelievers?
Brother, listen to what it said, creature. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. When it says disbelievers, it's referring creature. It's nowhere in the Quran is it suggesting when you've become a Muslim, your intellect is just, off the board. It's not saying that. It's given the criteria for humanity. Just like it gave the criteria, the most noble of you is the one of taqwa. Do you get me? So the criteria, again, so you have righteousness and you have intellect. Yes? So I then put to you that whoever's trying to keep people talking to a piece of wood or rock or clay and asking that thing for something, believing it has powers, do you not agree you're keeping someone dumb?
They are keeping people dumb. They don't believe that they're doing that, so they think that they're doing.
How do you know? I'm saying, do you really think a king that has a load of statues and idols and people praying to idols that look like him and whatever else that represent and symbolize forces of nature, that they're keeping people dumb?
Well, some kings might be totally cynical and think, this will keep the people happy, and then I'll collect their taxes. And I know that this is all nonsense, but let's keep this religion. It's useful.
Right.
Some will be like that. Okay. Others will genuinely believe that this is a religion of our ancestors. Our God has kept us safe for generations. Some of them will actually believe it.
Are you telling me that a king actually believes that wood and stone and clay statues answer prayers?
Some of them would, yeah. I mean,
you think a king actually believes that wood and rock? Okay.
Yeah.
If you believe that, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
I mean, that's the psychology of religion. You believe in
No.
You believe in these kind of ridiculous things because you were told them from a young age, and that sort of thing.
You're not paying attention. Look, are you trying to say that everyone believes something because at a young age grew up and believed the same thing?
No, but it's a heavy. Most people kind of remain the same religion they were born
fine.
into.
No. This is what I'm saying. I said a king.
Yeah.
Meaning that a king has a lot of temptations.
Yes.
A lot of things with wealth and a lot of things with how he rules and women and whatever else. So I'm saying he can either have a desire to evolve and elevate his people's intellect, which is what the Quran is saying to do, or he can keep them stupid, praying to rock, wood, clay, and whatever else.
Okay.
Because, I mean, are you suggesting it's a good idea to make a statue and pray to it?
No, it's not a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're agreeing with me then?
I am, but I still don't think it's, it would necessarily be justified to, launch an invasion to a group
But
of
no,
people.
no. Listen to what you're saying. You're talking about one aspect. Because I mentioned that aspect, but it is holistic. Because that's not the only part that it plays. It could be if you don't sacrifice or give some money to this idol, which they then end up taking, this can happen to you. I'm talking about the manipulation part, the whole thing as a system. And I've, as I said, I studied a whole heap before.
Yeah.
I was looking into Vedic knowledge and so on and so forth. Are you taking the camera, bro?
No, just backing up.
Okay. And if you want to pursue it further, if I can remember, to get more information to produce, to evidence what my claim is, as to what it produces. And at the very least, what you're saying in relation to going from Prophet Muhammad to now, if Prophet Muhammad did it then, can we not look at the same situation and circumstance and say, look, this circumstance of keeping people praying to wood and stone is really not beneficial? Do you get what I'm saying? And, it's a measure. I'm saying, let's say there's not that much information on the subject matter. I would lean towards the side that they're oppressors. You would then say to me, but there's no proof that they were or were not.
Yeah.
I would say, well, based upon all the facts so far, that would be a scientific theory of mine. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I'm saying all the evidence so far, you know what? Let me get some verses with the Quran together so that I can put a load of things together for you so you can say, right, you know what? Islam is saying something a lot different than you've heard.
Okay. Yeah.
Brother,
Yeah.
I really want to eat.
Yeah.
Take care. I really appreciate your conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate your conversation as well.
This has been Issa, the great black intellectual Muslim, along with our brother
James.
Inshallah, we continue conversations in the future.
Yeah, that'd be
And
good.
we're going to show that true Islam is so-called Shia, and Sunniism is not Islam at all. Don't follow it, it's down the path of destruction. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Hey. Oh, Theory.
Come take over everything from your melody.
God, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen.
He's boring.
We don't want the likes of you in the park. You come here to cause a divide.
Since I've been here, all that's happened is you've been
And
attacking me.
non-Muslims, we'll stand together.
Can you do me a favour and brush your teeth? You're starting to act like a lefty.